For the last hour and a half, I have trashed a whole series of movies talking about a bunch of stuff, but I want to point out something. This is just default colors, default stroke, and it's just a square made with the rectangle tool that's positioned centered on the artboard. But I've told you before, don't try to put things back because Illustrator works to the 10,000th of a pixel. Not 10,000th of an inch, 10,000th of a pixel. That's insane. And I can prove it because this is selected and I come up here and this shape, this square, tenths, hundredths, thousandth, 10,000th of a pixel. And you can see it's the exact same size in both directions. Okay, so cool. That's why I tell you always, if you move something, you try to put it back, just hit Command Z. So important. But what I was trying to show you is I wanted to talk about strokes. And I didn't want to fool around with the fill, so we'll just make no fill. Now, if I try to select this rectangle, click out here to deselect it, try to select it here, I can't select it because there's nothing here. There's no stroke. You actually have to click on the path. And with the black arrow, don't get these two confused. The black arrow selects everything. The white arrow, conversely, can select just a single point. And I'm going to undo that, hit the letter V to get back to the black arrow. Hit the letter A to get back to the white arrow. The direct selection tool, the selection tool. And so now with this selected, I just want to talk about the stroke for a second. What do I have? There we go. So you know you can change the color. And you can change the color here and have a bunch of swatches, or you can change the color down here, double clicking on it, and you have 16.7 million different colors to choose from. Hit cancel. But you can also change the size of the stroke, up to 10 pixels. And well, let's take it out to 15 so we can see this a little better. And you can see the path. The stroke seems to be centered on that path. Now, how do we adjust that? Well, in the stroke panel, or anywhere you see the word stroke where it's underlined, anywhere else, you pull up the stroke panel. I've got it sitting right here, and hopefully you do too. It's just easy to get to if you don't happen to be, well, it'll always switch back to the properties, but then you don't have to look for it in this mass of things. You just know, hey, these are the strokes. You can change things like the cap, which isn't going to do anything on a closed path like this, but it will on an open path or other shapes. We'll talk about that. The corner does get affected. If I hit rounded corner, notice that there's a little rounded corner there, as opposed to this, well, after it's selected, this sharp corner, or this little beveled corner. So depending on what you want, you can achieve results with that. However, as soon as you change the alignment of the stroke, some things work, some things don't work. And you have to just experiment a little bit. So if I put this inside and try to round off these corners, nothing's going to happen. See, they're not rounded. If I go to the outside, they are rounded, and they're rounded more than when the aligned stroke was set to center. Okay, we're going to change that back to this sharp corner. And then you may see this dashed line right here. As soon as you see the dashed line, you know, think, what can I do with the dashed line? And you click it, and I think the defaults are 12 and 12. I don't know. I played with this so much, I don't know. But you notice that there are two selections here. One is give me whatever lands on the page, and one is try to make everything the same. And I say try because it doesn't always work. And it never, ever works if you click. See, notice how these are grayed out? If dash line is not selected and you had this set to either one of these two, then click dash line, notice you can't select this. So Illustrator's telling you, hey, here's a gotcha. Okay, so we're going to come back here. Try to get our dash line organized. And you say, well, I don't want these little dinky dashes. Well, open them up. You know, say 50, tab. And you might say, well, I want a little more room in between. Say 20, hit tab. And what if you want more variety in your dash line? Or before we get there, what if you want these to seam? This seems a little shorter than these. So to fix that, select it, come here and just put your cursor in here and hit the up or down arrow. Start adjusting things until you feel like, and you'll notice Illustrator will jump suddenly because it's trying to accommodate whatever it is you're trying to do. There. You might say that looks a little better, or not. You can play with it. But what happens if you come over here and click 35 and 10? What happens to our dash line? Well, it helps if you actually have it selected. And you can see we start getting funkier things. And you say, well, I don't know about these spaces. Well, it's because we got a 20 gap and a 10 gap. Change them both to 10 or change them both to 20 or whatever, and it starts working a little differently. You can play with this and get all kinds of cool effects, and this video is long enough. So just know that the cap, corner, and the alignment of the stroke along with this dash line, the combinations work a little differently depending upon what you have selected, and not at all sometimes depending upon the selection. So you just got to be inquisitive and explore and try different things in order to get the results you want.